Hello everybody, now welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to be discussing hacking resources, right? So for those who don't know, it's quite hard breaking into the field of cybersecurity. It's not the easiest. There's plenty of other fields that are a lot easier to break into. Cybersecurity is a field that's, like I've said, it's quite hard to break into. Even if you have a degree, even if you have a specialist degree, it's not always enough to break into the industry, right? Which is why I'm making this video. Okay, because I want to help other people get into the industry as well, and me learning from 15 or so, you know, there wasn't amazing resources out there, or ones I didn't know of. So I'm making this video so then there's a smoother path to potentially transition into cybersecurity than my own, right? Because I had to learn through various outdated videos and things that I had to uncover online. Whereas I'm going to try to cover as much as possible in this video for how to break into cybersecurity and how to develop your skills, right? So as you can see on my screen right now, this is a blog post about me. This was done a while ago. I don't see a date on it, but it was done in 2020, right? Which is 2 years ago roughly, right? So it's quite a long time ago, but if you want to read it, you can, because it talks about what I know, or like what I knew back then, I should say, when I was like about 17, I think. And how I got into the field and why I decided to study and why I want to do it and why I have a YouTube channel and things like that, right? So if you want to, feel free to read it. It's on myhackertech.com and it's on the blogs section of the page. You can also just listen to it through this button as well. It's not too long, and obviously my YouTube's there as well. And just talks about, it's an interview, right? So if you want to go look at it, feel free to. But the main source of this content in this video is going to be hacking resources, right? So in order to understand hacking, right, which is offensive security, I'll use the terms interchangeably, but in order to understand defense, you have to think like an attacker at some point in like the situation as well. So that's what I'm showing you in this video, right? I want to show you offensive security techniques so then you can better understand hacking and learn hacking and then be employable, things like that, you know, from whatever background you are, right? So if you're graduating and you're worried about not getting a job, this video is for you. If you're coming out of A-levels and you don't know what to do yet, or like you're a bit in limbo, this video is for you as well. Same with gap years or anything like that, right? So it's to help employability for cybersecurity, right? So the first one we're going to talk about, I'm pretty sure if you've been doing this a while on your own already, you'll know who this is, but the Cyber Mentor, right? So if you don't know who he is, he's an accredited, certified, and has applied his cybersecurity and offensive security training into practice, right? He's, you know, pretty much top of his game, things like that. As you can see, I've watched a few of his videos recently. How to become an ethical hacker from $0. So I do recommend that video. I did watch it. I don't know why it's saying I've watched half of it, but I did watch all of it and it's actually really good. And he talks about, you know, like some scammers. He has his own certification program as well, and I actually have some of his courses online on his academy. I don't have this linked in one of the resources for this video, but just look up TCM security and the courses, right? And you'll see practical ethical hacking, open source intelligence, things like that, right? So if you want to do that, that's brilliant, because I have some of his courses and that's actually really good. But going back to the Cyber Mentor, right? So the guy, so Heath, I think his name is, you know, he's got quite a lot of subscribers and he does a lot of videos. So he does pen testing for noobs, how to be an ethical hacker, things like that. He has quite a lot of views, things like that, right? So he's got a lot of resources. So if you want to know anything about actual penetration testing and what it's like to do it in the industry, go straight to him, right? And then we also have, right, so Jason Sec, right? He's quite a smaller YouTuber, but he's got some quality content, right? So he talks about Android traffic sniffing, things like that. But what I normally go to him for is OSCP prep, right? So if you go along to his videos, he does a lot of OSCP stuff. So OSCP, you know, quite a lot, right? And obviously I'm planning on getting this in the future, potentially this year, right? So it's really good to have that. He has a lot of videos, to be fair, and he also talks about alien security certifications, which I'll get into on the next resource. So for those who don't know, Elan Security is kind of like Offensive Security in terms of the company. So Offensive Security offer OSCP, and Elan Security offer their own certifications as well, right? And I've got a few of those, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I do recommend this person called Jason Seg. I think his name's Jason, right? Which is like a play on words, because JSON web tokens, things like that. But I do highly recommend him, especially if you're looking for OSCP prep. The next resource we have is INE, right? So for those who don't know, Elan Security is a certification platform, and they've recently been partnered with INE to provide the training material, right? So INE is the parent company of Elan Security, and yeah, like I've said, so they cover everything that you need to you know, be a good penetration tester or hacker, if you want to call it, you know. So this one right here, so Web Application Penetration Testing Professional. So this is in relation to EWPTX, right? So I've got EJPT, I've got EWPT, right? So I'm accredited on both of those aspects, but then there's also Web Penetration Tester Extreme, and this is the content for it. So if I scroll down, you know, you can see the course here, 16 hours worth, so it's not actually too long. EWPT was, I think, 32 hours. But yeah, so you see, you know, you got one course, 30 videos, 18 labs, and 15 slides. When it says 15 slides, it means 15 PowerPoints, not 15 individual slides, right? But you know, like, they have this for everything. So if you go into Discover and Cybersecurity, you can go all the way down. You know, you've got everything from PTP to PTS, which is EJPT, ECPPT, EWPTX, and then there should be the other one as well. I can't find it. But yeah, and you've also got things like ransomware, cloud, penetration testing concepts, things like that, right? It's really good to get. And if I quickly, I'll show you the pricing for it. Prices. So as you, oh wow, they've got new ones. Okay. So you've got annual pass, you've got premium, right? So I've got the premium, and you get access to all the labs and all the content, right? Annual, you save 15%, and you get everything for the entire year. I don't know if this is including labs. It does not say. No, it doesn't say. So chances are you don't get labs with it, right? Labs are really important and useful, but you can study and pass the certification without them. You may need some other resources outside of INE though to pass it, if that makes sense. And then you've also got monthly, right? So monthly is £50 a month for people who are like trying to stay in a financial bracket. Like if you want to not spend too much, this is the thing to go for you. You get access to literally everything apart from the labs, and you get it for a monthly price. It's actually really good. I do recommend it, but I've got premium over here because I was planning on getting more than one certification. So I've got EJPT, EWPT, I'm going to get EWPTX, ECPPT, and then OSCP, right? So a little bit until OSCP, but it's still going to be of value, right? Now what I want to talk about next is Hack the Box, right? So everybody in the industry practically knows what Hack the Box is, but for example, if you don't, it's basically a place for you to test out your penetration testing or like hacking methodology, and actually learn about how environments are structured for networks and how to exploit certain computers, right? So if you scroll down, so I used to have a VIP, I don't have it anymore, but you get access to more like computers to hack, right? They're called machines. And as you can see, the difficulty level, so this is reasonably hard, things like that. This is community rated difficulty. So based on how difficult you found it to find the CTF capture the flag event, that's what the difficulty will show. And there's quite a lot here, and then obviously if you go to retired, I don't think it will show me. Oh, it does show me, but yeah, so you've got all of these, right? That's plenty. If you wanted to start learning from Hack the Box, you have to hack your way in though, and typically that's a fair bit harder than some of the machines on this website, right? But once you've done that, then you can get access. You can also pay for VIP to get everything that I've just shown you in this list as well. And it's not the most, it doesn't hold your hand necessarily, but the one I'm going to talk about next does, right? The one next to it is Try Hack Me, right? Try Hack Me walks you through everything, gives you massive descriptions about how to attack certain things, why they're vulnerable, and potential remediation steps as well. Sorry, my lighting went off a bit there. But on this one right here, so this is exploiting Log4j. So if you stay up to date with the cybersecurity community, you'll know Log4j is a Java library that interacts with over 4 billion devices, and there's a potential remote code execution, and you can get a shell. So a shell is like taking access of the computer, right? So it's essentially hacking it, and that can be done through Log4j library. So, and it came out in December, right? So it's pretty, pretty new and recent. As you can see, it's got a CVE here if you want to look into it a little bit more. And this guy, John Hammond, created exploiting Log4j room on Try Hack Me, right? So Try Hack Me, walks you through it, holds your hand, things like that, talks about it, and then you can start the machine, spin it up, try to hack it, right? So if you're starting off, I'd probably recommend this website, and obviously you've got different stages, so task 1, task 2, things like that. I'm actually going to add John Hammond to the list as well. I watch a lot of his videos. He's really informative, and he knows exactly what he's talking about, and he's applied his like theory into practice, like in the industry, right? Where there's some people out there, like, so TCM made a video on this. If I go back to TCM, he'll say it somewhere. The hacker YouTuber grift is real. I think it was this one, but he talks about how people read a blog post and then make a video on it and like don't actually apply it into the industry or have any certifications, things like that. And I think he's basically calling out Network Chuck, because Network Chuck is a sysadmin, and he's like self-employed doing his YouTube thing, but he doesn't know a lot about hacking, but he pretends that he does, if that makes sense. He's still a really good guy. I will add Network Chuck onto the list for resources, but I do recommend people who have actually applied it in the industry, right? Because they know what they're talking about, they know everything about it, right? So that's Try Hack Me, and that was John Hammond as well, and also Network Chuck. But I do recommend John Hammond because he's got years of experience, loads of certifications, anything you need to know, he'll probably make a video on it if he hasn't already. Right, so that's a lot of cybersecurity, right? That's loads of cybersecurity, but cybersecurity isn't the only thing to make sure that you have a good foundation knowledge on, right? So I do recommend this book right here. This is computer science in general, and it's for the OCR exam board for A-level students, right? So it's not actually as hard as you think it is. I've actually, I've had this book. I think I've got it in the other room, to be fair, but it's a really good book. Teaches you everything you need to know about computer science fundamentals, right? Which is really important, especially networking for cybersecurity. It talks about various different things, for example, firewalls, ransomware. I think it talks a bit about ports as well, and also just general networking, right? Which you'll need to know for pen testing, right? So I do recommend this. If I scroll down, no, it says it here, doesn't it? £30, right? £30 isn't too bad. It's done by Heathcote as well, which is ironically the same person who I learned Python from a book. But yeah, no, it's honestly brilliant, and I do highly recommend it. Talks a bit about security as well, which is decent, right? Because there's a bit of an overlap, so that's really good. But to make sure you have foundation knowledge, fundamental knowledge, that's really important. So overall, all the resources I've talked about in this video, I do think that would really help someone break into the cybersecurity field, or if you're trying to get into cybersecurity and then breaking into industry experience, right? So if you used to go through all of these and do well, like put them on your CV after you think that you're comfortable with it, and to be tested on it in interviews, then yeah, like you should have a decent chance, right? So just as a recap, you've got my little blog post to see how I started and what I learned at certain ages. So I list that all in here. So like year 12, I did this, and so on. So if you want to look at that, feel free to. Cyber Mentor, always brilliant. My number one go-to, really. If it's OSCP and I'm anxious, then it'll be JSONsec. INE for general learning about cybersecurity and literally anything else, like firewall technologies, absolutely everything. Hacking Wi-Fi, Metasploit as well, things like that, right? Practical web defense, whatever, and all of the courses for the certifications eLearn Security offers, right? Because this is where all of the content is for the certifications now. And then the pricing, so you can see all the prices here. I might put it in a thumbnail maybe. But yeah, and then Hack the Box. Hack the Box is brilliant. I highly recommend it. You've probably seen on my OneNote, I've got a lot of Hack the Box like notes right? So you can see I've used it a fair bit, right, from my notes in other videos. And then you've got TryHackMe, right? So I've only used TryHackMe a little bit. I used it, I think, about 3 or 4 months ago for buffer overflows. But aside from that, I normally focus on Hack the Box, INE, and you know, like the YouTubers, right, or like the content creators, I should say. And then also I did this book, right? So I do recommend this book as well. For anyone who's trying to get into computer science and wants to learn more about it, definitely read this book. It talks about cybersecurity, talks about networking. It's absolutely brilliant. And that's everything for this video. So if you did like it, please feel free to like, subscribe, because it really does help me. Let's try to get me to 500 before, let's say, February, right? We're about 450 now, I think it is. It's doing brilliant. And I'm going to be making more videos in the future. I'm going to be making ones on SQL injections again, because my last video I did on that got 12,000 views, right, which is ridiculous. So I'm going to do another one of those. And I'm going to do various other ones as well. So feel free to stay tuned for that. If you have any interesting ideas you would like to see in a video, feel free to leave them in the comment section below and I will address them. And yeah, so like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.